Hello and welcome to another demonstration of the ArcSight ESM real-time correlation engine with, in this case, the Hexadite AIRS remediation and automation solution. I have a demonstration I'll run through and I'll talk about what I'm doing as I'm doing it, but more importantly you'll be able to see the automation and remediation process in operation, doing and carrying out actions. My name is Paul Brettle from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and thank you very much for watching this video. So without further ado, I will start talking about what we're going to show. So what we have here is an active channel of some log data that's being received, and we can actually see it being received as I'm talking about it, and it's being processed. What we have is a whole bunch of log messages with regards to some malware. So in this particular instance, we can see that there's some malware that's being picked up by our FireEye solution. So that's great, you know, and in this particular scenario, we are strongly confident that the FireEye detection system is actually providing what we want it to do. So we have a lot of confidence in the actual alerts that we're receiving. So much so, we can actually see that we have a rule that's defined here that says FireEye aggregated alert. So we can actually trigger some automation around this because we do have such confidence in what we're seeing as the malware. Now, in this particular scenario, we'll actually also see some of this firewall traffic as well. Now, I'm going to come back to that later, but just note that at the moment we can see some firewall traffic that's being processed as well. Now, this is clearly, it's a demonstration that's set to show what we're going to do, but it gives you a good illustration of the scenarios that we have. What we do also have is we actually have a system that generates a notification and a case with regards to this particular FireEye event. So we can actually see that this is an aggregated alert. It's now in the follow-up stage. So I can click on that and I can view the alert, the case itself. We can see the attached events to this as well. So we can see there's a whole bunch of events that are in this as well. But you know, this is the case and that's being processed. In fact, actually, I jumped to my notifications. I can also see that the notification is here as well. So that's great. That's actually been in operation. However, what's actually occurring with regards to the AIRS system from Hexadite? Well, actually, let me jump to that interface. So here we have the Hexadite AIRS interface with the initial dashboard that we can see. So the important thing with the Hexadite AIRS platform is it's providing automation around the remediation of the actual, in this particular example, in the scenario, around the malware that we've been detecting. So we can see that it actually runs, it's a genuine platform that we're looking at. We can see there's a number of investigations that have been performed in the past. We can see some savings that we've had because we've automated it. We've had the system do this. We can see that the average times that are being processed here as well. And we can see that there's been some malicious entities being remediated as part of that. The point is, this is a multi-platform. The point is, this is a platform that allows you to do multiple investigations at the same time. So we can see in this particular case, there's 7 going on at the moment, which is great because it gives us an understanding that it's actually doing multiple tasks at the same point. But now I can drill down into the actual investigation that's going on. Now, we can see that there's a running investigation here, and this has been triggered by our FireEye malware that's been detected. So we can actually click on that and dig into this, and we can see what's going on. So a little bit of animation that's going on, but I'll talk about what's occurring as part of this integration. So we've received the alert that's actually come from ESM, from the real-time correlation platform. So we know that something's happened, and we have strong confidence in the alert that's been received from the FireEye platform. What we're actually doing, though, is we've integrated a number of data sources. Now, what do we mean by data sources? Well, what we want to do is we want to carry out an automation around this investigation that's going on. So we want to look at things that's relevant and that's part of what's going on. So first thing, Active Directory. Is this a Windows workstation? Can we look up who owns it? Can we ensure that we understand where it is? What's the machine name and what's the matching IP address? Do we have access to that particular machine? Can we start doing the investigation and remediation process? That's all data that we're going to get with regards to the Active Directory. Next step is understanding the ESM side of things. So not only are we just receiving the alert from ESM and saying, yes, we have some confidence, please remediate this, we're actually looking back into ESM. And we can see that, and if I mentioned before about this checkpoint message, so if I go back to my active channel a second, remember I mentioned those checkpoint logs there a second ago? Well, of course, our alert was talking about this .190 IP address of the workstation. What the system does is it wants to know more context of what the scenario is. What else might be potentially involved as part of this investigation process? Again, it's a remediation platform that allows us to do this investigation process. So now we can see, and we can look back through the data, well, this 190 talked to this .87. Did anybody else talk to this .87? Well, 191 did, and it transpires that we also talked to this 216, and 191 also talked to us. So we're actually looking back into the data that's also in ESM and understanding what the context is, and if there's any surrounding aspects or workstations or systems that need to be investigated as well. So that's what we've done here as part of the automation. So we jump back to the AIRS interface, and we can see that, yes, it has two endpoints, this Win7PC2 and Win7PC1, that we want to do the investigation. Now we're actually carrying out the investigation process, and that's what's running at the moment. Now, I have to stress, this is not doing a malware disinfect on the workstation, run a script and trigger our malware. No, it's actually doing much more there. What it's actually doing is it's got the credentials, it's got the integration side of things, because obviously we got that from Active Directory, and it's then sending a dissolvable probe down to those workstations to run and capture the information. Now, this is a proper investigation that we want to carry out, and the important aspect of this is we need to have a trace of what we've done, how we did it, what's the auditable aspects on everything, not just a file system scan for AV, but actually looking through and seeing what the files are, what the processes are running, what the drivers are that are available to this particular workstation, what's the services that are there, and any IP addresses. Now, we've actually triggered this system to be automated, and we actually want to do this remediation because we have such confidence in this detection in the first place. However, I could define this investigation to ensure that it asks for particular roles, it asks for an administrator to confirm some things that needs to be done, and go through and have a workflow mechanism on that one. But the important thing is that so far the system has done all of this itself. It's received the alert, it's looked back, it's understood the workstations, it's looked back into ESM to see if there's anything else related to this, which there is. It's then understood the endpoints that we need to look at. It's then going down to those particular endpoints and doing the analysis on those to understand what is actually there and what is running. And more importantly, we can actually identify that there are some threats identified as on these particular workstations. So if we actually click on those, we can see we can identify that there is a Trojan. It is a test environment, so clearly we know we're going to find these things, but in this particular case, it's actually hiding running as the service hosts executable. It actually runs on a different user, which is why we're able to pick this up. And we can see that there's a number of files that have been infected, and we can see there's a number of processes that have been infected as well. So we need to stop the processes and clean and quarantine the files. Okay, well, as it's capturing this information, as it's feeding the data back into the Hexadite AIRS platform from an Audit Trail point of view, we also need to be able to understand this from an ArcSight ESM side of things. So this isn't just integration around sending an alert, as we clearly talked about, it's actually looking back in the data. What we also need to do is understand what we're doing with regards to the cases. Now, remember that case that we talked about? We looked at the case, we saw what was going on, we had the events attached to it and so on. Now we can see that the system has actually fed back into ArcSight to close the case. So now we can see that the case is in the final stage, it's closed. We've also updated the severity and the operational impact. We could change other aspects of this as well, but in this particular case, it was an immediate impact because it was an infected workstation, so it's high from there, but the severity of the consequence is low because we were able to remediate it. And when we look at the actual events, well, we actually had the original events in there as well. Well, we actually had the original events in there, so we can see the FireEye events, which is great. But if I just scroll down the attached events, and oh look, we actually see the Hexadite AIRS events that are attached to this case as well. Endpoint to investigate, remediate endpoint. So we have a full trace of what's actually occurred within the case, and the case is closed. So we've done the full investigation. We've got the audit trail. If we need to go back and understand what was actually investigated as part of this automation, we can look back into the AIRS platform. But from a security and information event management platform, we can understand this as a closed case. And now I can jump back into the interface with regards to the Hexadite side, and more importantly, we now have it fully remediated. So the system understands that it's been able to identify these things, it's been able to spot the process and the files, it's been able to kill the process, actually quarantine the files to ensure that they are not available again, and then we can now understand that it's now fully remediated, all because of the very tight integration between ArcSight ESM from a real-time correlation side of things and within the Hexadite AIRS platform from an automation side of things. So as you can see, as an integrated solution, we can save an awful lot of time and effort where we want to automate our use cases to do this level of investigation, capture the information, and do the remediation. The Hexadite AIRS platform gives us that ability to do so, and it's all tightly integrated with the ArcSight ESM real-time correlation engine. That ends this particular demonstration. I hope you found it informative and useful. Thank you very much for your time.